With Micah Parsons.
He is in mandatory minicamp. He said he's going to be there for training camp, despite the fact that he's awaiting a contract that is expected to make him the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. And that means the Cowboys then will have the highest paid player in history in Dak Prescott and the highest paid defensive player. That's a deal that Micah Parsons and the Cowboys want to get done at some point this summer. Speaking of big deals, the Washington Commanders and Terry McLaurin want to try to get a deal done, but until they do, Terry McLaurin is staying away. Not president mandatory minicamp at this current time. He has not been a part of any of the Commanders' off-season activities. And while we've seen other wide receivers like DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase get paid this offseason, Terry McLaurin still has not been paid. He's produced like a top receiver, and now he wants to be paid like a top receiver. Meanwhile, we continue to monitor the quarterback battle in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders has been taking some reps, doing the work. The fact of the matter is, it is so rare for a fifth-round quarterback to come in and start right away. Shedeur Sanders has looked good. He has carried himself the right way, but there's still a long way to go before we could begin to have Shedeur Sanders in the conversation about when he's going to be starting the season for the Cleveland Browns. Right now, it looks like Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, they'll be vying for that job, and Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel will continue to learn, bide their time, and wait for their opportunity.
Shedeur did actually join the conversation, though, literally yesterday, speaking to the media. This is what he said about how he's approaching minicamp.
It's just a mindset, it's just an adjustment. You got to go and understand the situation that you're in and be able to approach that and get the best out of it. You could view things as you're not getting reps in a negative way, or you could view it as, okay, when it's my time to get out there. So there's no excuses, because when you get out there, nobody cares how many reps you got. Whenever you get in the game, nobody cares if you took a snap before. You know, like everybody cares about production. So that's the main thing. When you get out there, you got to be able to produce.
So we all know that Tom Brady has been a mentor to him, and that we've all heard that clip of Brady saying, I don't care if you get one rep, then you make sure that you make it work, and that's the attitude that he is taking. The path to the starting job, Mike T., for Shedeur Sanders is an interesting one. Shefty pointed it out. The chances of him winning the job week one are extremely remote. But I feel like there's almost no question at some point this season he will get the chance to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And that should happen sooner than later, Green, for a number of reasons. First of all, he could be their quarterback in the future. I don't think there's any question he has much more ability than Dylan Gabriel, despite the fact that he was drafted 2 rounds later. And they made a great trade. I think Jacksonville likely could have a top 5, top 10 pick. That's going to be Cleveland's. Next year's draft is loaded with quarterbacks. So one of the things that Cleveland needs to accomplish this year is, where are they with the quarterback position? And this isn't the sexiest thing, but Shedeur Sanders can earn the trust and respect of his teammates, of Tommy Reese, the offensive coordinator, Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, every day, knowing his assignments, comporting himself as a pro. By all accounts, that's happening. And when you do that, that's how you start gaining momentum. And we could be sitting here in early October, Greeny, talking about Shedeur Sanders, the starting quarterback of the Browns.
What is the path, Lewis? Give me the path for Shedeur Sanders starting today to being QB1.
Look, it's about maximizing every single opportunity, and that's what he is talking about. And I think Tom Brady is a great template to follow in terms of how he talked about the early beginnings of his career. Every rep does matter. I've been in those situations. Where you don't get many reps in practice, and then you get thrust into a preseason game or a regular season game, and you're expected to perform, which means you got to be on it. You got to be on the details. And for Kevin Stefanski, it's got to be also about rewarding a guy like Shedeur Sanders with more reps, provided that he takes advantage of the limited ones that he gets, meaning he's crisp and clean in and out of the huddle. He's moving the football when they're in move-the-football type situations, whether it's in practice or in preseason games. He's getting the ball in the end zone. He's not turning the football over. That's what makes coaches give you more reps, with starting with the 3s, then maybe with the 2s. Then you get some reps with the 1s. And I'll tell you what, look, we say the NFL's a meritocracy. In theory it is. But sometimes you don't always get the opportunity to really take advantage of that meritocracy. Shedeur will get the opportunity as he continues to progress and earn the trust of the coaching staff. And if he does that, look, Mike T's right. He's the most talented thrower on that roster. But that doesn't matter if you don't get the opportunity. And the only way you get the opportunity is you have to earn it. You have to earn more opportunities. And I think he has the right mindset right now in terms of how he's approaching that.
Well, just to tell you what he's trying to overcome, there's been one quarterback in the last 40 years drafted in the 4th round or later who started his team's opener. And that was Dak Prescott with the Dallas Cowboys. Dak lit it up. Tony Romo got hurt. And Dak Prescott had a path to start. When you are a mid-round draft pick, you need help to get into that starting job. Not only do you have to play well, carry yourself well, but then sometimes you need an injury. You need Joe Flacco to bang his shoulder. You need Kenny Pickett to bruise his knee. You need things like that that give you an opportunity to step out there. And then once you do step out there, you need to take advantage of it.
You know, Greeny, they should be parallel track in their quarterback situation. Let's say we're getting the Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco winner for opening day. And as we're looking here on the screen, those first 4 games, let's be realistic. Cincinnati's not going to be easy. At Baltimore, the Packers, and at Detroit, they could be sitting here 1-3. What are we waiting on? Like, let's go get Shedeur. And again, I'm being presumptive that
if they were 1-3, they don't think like that.
Right. And I'm also saying that I think Shedeur is going to beat out Dylan Gabriel, which to me, from a talent standpoint, that's not even close. But you're parallel tracking getting quarterbacks ready for 2 different groups. Opening day against Cincinnati, presumably that's Joe Flacco, and then the Shedeur Dylan Gabriel winner for October 1st.
I get that no one thinks that way, but we just said on our screen, it is the hardest strength of schedule to start a season that any team has. 1-3, I think, would be a pretty good start based on who they're playing, and then it only gets harder after that. The idea that they will not at some point this year find out what they have in both of these young kids, Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel, strikes me as very unlikely. So that's the situation in Cleveland.
Browns also starting mandatory minicamp today, and all eyes are on the quarterback logjam. During OTAs, Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett were getting the majority of first-team reps. 3rd-round pick Dylan Gabriel got a few, while 5th-rounder Sheduer Sanders has been the 4th QB. He spoke today. Take a listen. It's new on SportsCenter.
My goal is to be the best teammate and to be as polished as I can be. So, in every aspect, I view things as I got time. I got time to be able to grow and mature, you know, and be able to understand the ins and outs of the defenses and be able to get the good insight from the vets in the room. So, I look at it as, you know, a plus. Like I got time to actually be able to really have a great understanding. And whenever, you know, it's time for me to play, then it's time for me to play. But I'm not looking too far in the future about all that. I'm looking about every day in practice, because I had some misses out there today that, you know, we got to go in there and correct about Reeves getting in and out drops a little bit faster from under center. So that's the main thing. I'm focused on the small things, and over time, the big things will happen.
And back with Adam Schefter and Tim Hasselbeck, and you heard Sheduer Sanders right there. He said he still has time. Shefty, what have you been hearing about how Sheduer Sanders has looked in Cleveland so far?
He's looked good, but then again, they're throwing against their own teammates. They're throwing against air, so there's not a lot that can be taken away during OTAs and mini camps. But the fact of the matter is, he's coming there. He's acted professionally. He's thrown like a major league quarterback. He'll continue to have an opportunity to compete for the Browns starting quarterback job. I think people around the league still believe that Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett might be the favorite to win, that a veteran will start on opening day. Very rarely do you see a mid-round draft pick like Dylan Gabriel on the 4th or Sheduer Sanders in the 5th wind up winning the starting quarterback job. But the opportunity is going to be there for them, and this quarterback competition will be wide open this summer.
And a lot has been made about Sheduer Sanders going in the 5th round and how crowded that quarterback room is in Cleveland. Tim, how do you think the Browns have handled both Sanders and their whole quarterback situation so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're doing the best they can with it. When you have 4 guys that you want to give reps to, it's just impossible to really make it an even competition, because you can't, you know, divvy them up, you know, a quarter, you know, across the board. And so I would just say this, the sound from Sheduer Sanders there was great. I think it's the right approach from a standpoint of, look, it's not going to happen all at once. You got to put the work in, and when you do get your opportunity to play, you try to play well. Now, I do think that, you know, the opportunity to play, you know, will come probably sooner than later, and we're just talking about preseason stuff. But it's not going to happen with, you know, necessarily with the starters. And I would say this, from the reporting about, look, you know, it's been Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett on one side doing 11-on-11 and 7-on-7. On the other side, you know, Gabriel and Sanders doing it. Look, until, you know, Sanders or Gabriel, for that matter, are taking reps with Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku in team environment stuff, stuff, it's not a real competition. It's just not. Like, the reality is until you are competing kind of apples to apples in terms of who you are in getting live reps with the guys that are the starters, it's no different than varsity and JV. There's a difference. So until that happens, like it looks right now with the way they're doing it and how they're handling it, that Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco are the guys that are having the initial crack at being the starters.
Yeah, still very, very early.
And Amina, let me say this.
Go ahead,
let me
Shefty,
say
go
this.
ahead.
Hold on. And Tim would know that. He's used to standing off to the side, practicing 7-on-7, watching the guys vying for the starting job.
Yes.
Not catching a strike.
We all bring something to the table here. We all bring something to the table.
Everybody, I'm back. Jeannie Young is back to show you all how easy it is to make super delicious smothered cube steak. This recipe is so delicious. It's so easy to make. It doesn't require a lot of ingredients. If you make this recipe Jeannie Young style, hands down, you're going to love this recipe. Here's what you're going to need. You're going to need some beautiful cube steak. You're also going to need a really interesting ingredient. Today we're going to be using some onion soup mix. We're also going to be using cream of chicken soup, and we'll be using 2 of those. Mixed with some water to thin it out. And we're also, in replace of our salt, we're going to be using chicken bouillon powder. Feel free to use a beef bouillon as well, okay, instead of the chicken. So we have garlic and onion powder, and we're going to use some black pepper. I happen to have some sofrito in the refrigerator that I'm going to use, so we'll be using this, but this is not required. And you can see in my frying pan here, I have some vegetable oil, and we'll use some all-purpose flour. Make sure your hands are impeccably clean. Let's get started with this delicious recipe, Jeannie Young style. I hope y'all are having a great day today, and if you're not having a great day, hopefully I can brighten up your day with this recipe. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's get started seasoning our cube steak very well. I have washed off our cube steak using lemon juice, salt, and cold water, and then we've pat it dry with a paper towel. Go ahead and season, and then we're going to dredge it in our all-purpose flour. You can use whatever type of flour that you love to use. Okay, you can see that I'm going in pretty heavy with my onion powder. I'm going to do the same thing with my garlic powder for super flavor, right? Absolutely I am. All right, I would love to know, have you had cube steak before? If you haven't, you're definitely in for a treat. And that was our garlic powder. We're going to use the chicken bouillon in replace of our salt. I don't have to use too much, okay? There's a ton of flavor in this bottle, and it's going to give great flavor to our beef here. I always like to let my spices kind of seep down for about 15 to 20 minutes before we begin the cooking process. Okay, beautiful. A little bit of black pepper, and then we'll let them set. And then we'll come back and dredge them in the flour, making sure that we shake off any excess flour, just like so, quick and simple. Take a look in my pan so you can see how much oil is in there. It's really not a lot. We're not deep frying them, but just get enough oil in the bottom of the pan so that we can give them a nice sear. And right now we're not aiming to fully cook them, because I find that we fully cook them once they go into the oven. So what we're going to do is we're going to get them nice and dredged, and when they go into the pan, all we're really looking for is to basically get a nice, beautiful golden brown sear onto them. And then we'll make up this amazing, quick and simple gravy that tastes so spectacular. I mean, the gravy's so good, you could just drink it, right? And so, watch this. Let me show you real quick. This shake that extra off, that's what we're looking for. Let's continue to dredge all of our steaks just like so in this manner. I hear a lot of people saying, Gina, how do you make the cube steak? Because it can be tough. I just like to tell people, when you're making this, be sure to let it simmer in a gravy or let it bake, right? And that's the way that I find that it can be nice and tender. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. This cube steak can be tough, but if you're smothering it in a gravy and you're letting it simmer on the stove, or you're letting it cook in the oven, it has no choice but to be nice and tender, okay? And you'll see in today's recipe just how it turns out. So many people make cube steak and they turn around and put this in a beautiful, lovely tomato sauce. And I find that to be super interesting. I have yet to try it, but one day I will try it. I feel like it would be spectacular, especially if you season your tomato sauce up real good. Oh my goodness, I could only imagine, right? Beautiful. Okay, so that sizzle that you're seeing and you're hearing, that's great. That means we're going to get a nice sear onto it. And I'm not going to overcrowd my pan. Overcrowding the pan could cause these to steam. And we don't want them to steam. We want to get a nice sear. The sear will help to lock in the beautiful juices like we want to. And it help it to have a nice crust to it. A couple more. The New Year's is around the corner. Who is excited? I tell you one thing, I am definitely super excited because I know that 2025 is going to be an absolutely amazing year. Yes, it is for all of us, but you have to believe it. You have to believe it, receive it, retrieve it, anything you need to do. And it will come. You have to believe it and know it. Absolutely, and I'm so excited for this new year. There's so many new things that we have in store just for our family and for you all. New things to come on this channel as well. So I am so happy and excited. Is anybody doing anything special for the new year? How are you all celebrating? Is anybody celebrating? Do you guys do the traditional pork, the sauerkraut, and the black-eyed peas like we do? Oh, we do it every year. Every year we do it. And although my husband really isn't a real big fan of the sauerkraut, I still tell him, baby, just eat just a little bit, and he will. And then I make the black-eyed peas, and this year we're going to do pork ribs. Yes, we are. We're going to do some lovely spare ribs, and I'm going to make some macaroni. So super exciting. All right, we'll wait to dredge the other ones. Let's take a peek in over here. And you don't have to have the heat up too high. Really, you don't. We're looking for that nice, beautiful golden brown color. And as you look at it from here, you'll see that golden brown towards the bottom. Once you see that, that's your indication. Go ahead and give it a nice flip over. I cannot stop talking about this recipe. He's the one. He went to the store and picked these up and said, baby, can you make me some? He absolutely loves cubed steak. And so I know he will run through these. Yes, he will. He'll have some for lunch. He's going to have some for dinner. He's going to have some for a snack. And then tomorrow he'll most likely have some for breakfast. That's how much he loves it. And it's so simple to make. I really don't know why I don't make it more often. Give him a nice flip over. Look at that. Now, I'm hoping that the lighting is okay. Because I always like to tell people on certain days when it's super bright outside that it's like the camera lighting and the lighting that's in the kitchen, it just does something funky when it's super bright outside. So I'm hoping when I edit I can fix the lighting for you all. But just please understand. Take a look. Oh my goodness. Get these out. Oh, yeah, baby. And we're going to put others in until we get them all nice and seared. And then we're going to start on our gravy. The gravy is so super simple. All right, come on. Beautiful. This recipe comes together so quickly. For such an amazing recipe, a lot of people think it's hard. And this recipe is not hard to make at all. Our second batch. Oh, yeah. Got even more color. Oh, my goodness. Whew, make you something you will not regret making this recipe. Get these out. Set them onto a platter. All that lovely goodness down in the bottom is called fond. And fond is delicious. It's all those juicy golden brown bits that's going to help to give our gravy amazing flavor. Last one in. Once this is nice and seared off, I will be getting rid of some of the oil, but some of the oil I will leave, and we're going to add it to our gravy for the most beautiful flavor. And like I said, once again, all these little bits right here, that's the seasoning off of the steak. That's the flavor of the steak, and just really great flavor. This last one out, and you may see that I did pat a lot of that oil out, but I left a little bit. Go ahead and get started on our gravy. We're gonna go ahead and take 2 cans of this lovely cream of chicken. If for some reason you don't want to use cream of chicken, you know you can use cream of mushroom. Okay, just like this. Get that lovely goodness right in on top of those beautiful, flavorful bits that's in the bottom of the pan. Okay, and then because I wanted to use a little bit of my sofrito that I had in the refrigerator, I'm just going to use about, let's say a tablespoon and a half. Brings so much great flavor. But if you don't have it, don't worry. It's just a little addition that I'm adding because my husband is absolutely nuts over sofrito. Okay, and so now I always like to use the 2 bags of this onion soup mix because I want a lot of gravy. I want these steaks to be swimming in gravy, right? I don't want a tiny bit of gravy that you got to search for. Beautiful. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to thin it out. Now you have 2 options. You can thin it out with milk, of course you can, but I'm going to thin mine out with water. You also can use a broth. Just keep in mind that that broth will bring, you know, some salt and more flavor. It's really up to you. But the water will work just fine because that onion soup mix is so super flavorful. Look at this. You can see how the gravy is forming already. And you're going to continue to pour your liquid in until you get that perfect gravy consistency that we're looking for. So I'm going to turn this burner on to like, let's just say a medium for now. Okay, and once it gets nice and heated up, we're going to nestle our beautiful steaks down into the gravy, and then guess what? It goes into the oven. And that's when your steak will get fully cooked, and it will get nice and tender. If for some reason you don't want to put it in the oven, you can set this on top of the stove. Cover that thing up and just let it simmer. Anybody out there that would like to saute some onions and maybe some mushrooms or fresh garlic, absolutely you can. And then you throw it right into your gravy. But me personally, I feel like a lot of times I'll do the onions, and sometimes I'll do the mushrooms, but really, just to be honest, that onion soup mix has enough flavor. It really tastes so good. My goodness, especially with that little bit of sofrito that I put in there with those beautiful herbs. All right, now look at this. Nestle. You know how to nestle your meat down in there. Look at that. Yum. Okay, and I'm going to put mine in the oven. Okay, I will be covering it with a foil. But I'm going to make sure that it's not fully covered super tight because steam will create in there and it will just make my gravy watery. So I'm just going to lightly put a piece of foil, okay? Oh my goodness, on 350 degrees. The oven. Can somebody look at this? Look at this. Super simple to make you some Gina Young style. I'm not going to plate this up. Okay, we will take one out. We're going to put it right onto our lovely cutting board. We're going to slice that thing, and I want you to see how tender it is. Listen to me. If y'all enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you ain't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Tell your family and friends. Tell the world about Gina Young, what I'm doing in this kitchen on a daily basis. Look how that gravy turned nice and brown. And I don't really like to submerge them in the gravy like that because you can't see them. I got family coming over, so I'm going to try to keep that nice and pretty. And this is going back in there. But we're going to taste it, and we're going to taste it right now. If y'all enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Tell the world what I'm doing in this kitchen on a daily basis. Oh, are you kidding me? No, we're not kidding. Look at them calling. You hear the phone ringing? They're calling right now. Oh my goodness. I'm going to cut it a little bit smaller because I don't want to burn my mouth, but we must try this. My family is so excited. Super tender, so flavorful. Make you some Gina Young style. You